Chapter 3. The Last Day of School. Verona Destin's eyes opened just before the alarm clock on her pink wooden nightstand sounded. Seconds later, beep, beep, beep. Verona rolled over, swung her arm over her head, and slapped at it, extinguishing the sound. She slowly slid her legs, letting her feet lazily fall off the side of the bed as she sat up, gazing in the direction of her closet door. Rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, the room slowly started to come into focus, and the movie poster hanging on the door became clear. It portrayed her favorite Star Wars character, a scowling Rey, fiercely wielding a lightsaber. Right next to Rey's poster hung Verona's wall calendar, displaying a photo of two playful Persian kittens, one black and white, resembling a tiny tuxedo, and the other calico. The calendar reminded Verona that it was June 5th, the last day of school at Washington Elementary. Verona, graduating 6th grade, would be entering junior high after summer vacation and attending a new school. Even though Verona was undoubtedly happy that school would soon be over for the year, she dreaded the thought of moving to junior high, not because she worried about a new school, but rather because she felt an unavoidable fear every time she thought about Lincoln going to school without her. She was like a mother hen to her younger brother, always supporting him, always trying to keep him safe. She couldn't bear the thought of what might happen to her little brother when she wasn't around to protect him next year. Verona quickly cleared her head and walked out of her bedroom door and across the hall to the tiny bathroom. Luckily, there was nobody in the home's only bathroom, so Verona did not need to wait. Her father had already gone to work. Lincoln was still sound asleep, and her mother, Jillian, was cooking breakfast in the kitchen. She glanced at the mirror and saw that her blonde hair was in a violent nest above her head. She quickly grabbed a comb and started yanking it through her hair. When she finally finished, she swapped the hairbrush for her toothbrush. In the middle of her morning routine, she heard a sharp knock against the door. Her mother, Jillian, opened the door and leaned against its frame and greeted her oldest child. "Good morning, sweetie. Are you hungry?" "Yeah," Verona gurgled before leaning over and spitting into the small bathroom sink. "Well, it's your last day at school, and it also happens to be your father's last day at the paper factory before his big promotion." Jillian was grinning from ear to ear, excited that all her husband's hard work had finally paid off. Phil Destin had been toiling his whole adult life at the town's paper factory, and it had finally paid off. As Verona was washing her face, her mother continued, "Did you know that your father hasn't even taken a single day off of work in over 6 years? 6 years! Can you imagine?" Verona finally looked up and put her hand on her hip, glaring at her mother. "I'm in the bathroom. A little privacy, please." But Jillian was in such a good mood that she didn't even notice her daughter's preteen attitude. Dreamingly staring at the ceiling, she twirled around. "Yep, he was called into the boss's office yesterday, out of the blue. And you know what he said?" Jillian didn't wait for an answer. "He said your father was a great asset to the company and one of its best employees. So he gave your wonderful dad the promotion he had been working so hard for. In just 3 weeks, your dad will be made a foreman." This was a big deal for Phil and his family. He would soon oversee 21 people, and he would be getting a substantial raise. Today would be his last day working on the line. Verona rolled her eyes and pushed past her mother, rapidly walking back into the hallway and into her little brother's room. Unfazed, Jillian proclaimed, "Until he starts his new job, we are taking a much-deserved, long-overdue vacation." This piqued Verona's interest, and she stopped in her tracks. But before she could say anything, Jillian's cell phone rang, and she walked away, answering, "Hello?" Verona shrugged and let it go, at least for now, then walked over to a pile of pillows and blankets on the bed. "Get up, Lincoln. You're finishing 3rd grade today." She looked at her brother lying face down, trying not to laugh. His blankets were pulled up to his shoulders, and his head was suffocated under his pillow. Seeing no movement, she sat down on the edge of the young boy's bed and not so gently shook her brother, pulling his blankets down. Lincoln did not move a muscle. This might have concerned Verona, if not for the fact that he had been waking up like this every single morning for years. She yanked the pillow off his face, revealing headphones covering his ears, and his right hand sleepily holding an old, outdated, but treasured iPod. When Verona ripped the headphones out of its plug, the slumbering child gave a low groan and started to wiggle. Verona repeated, "Get up, Lincoln. Today is the last day of school." With that, she dropped the headphones on the bed and left to finish getting ready. After Verona had gotten dressed, she came out to the kitchen. Her mother was still talking on the phone, balancing it on her shoulder while she flipped eggs. Verona listened to her mom complaining about her job, occasionally catching snippets of, "Maybe now I can finally quit the hair salon," and, "You know what I really want to do? I want to finally open that restaurant I've been dreaming about." Jillian was a fantastic cook, and Verona thought she made the best paninis in the world. Sitting down with her plate, Verona had finished her eggs and toast when Lincoln finally walked in and sat at the kitchen table. He had his headphones on, barely glancing at everyone before picking up a piece of toast and taking a bite. Jillian had hung up and was drinking a cup of coffee when her son joined them. Noticing her mother was off the phone, Verona asked, "You mentioned something about a vacation?" But her mother didn't respond, busy focusing on Lincoln as she reached for a second piece of toast. "Link, can you take off the headphones when you're at the table?" He didn't even look up, spooning some eggs into his mouth. Lincoln was finishing 3rd grade, and this was no easy feat. He was a sweet, 8-year-old kid who loved music. In fact, he was rarely seen without his headphones and wore them everywhere. The problem was that Lincoln rarely spoke at all, and when he did, it was only in a very low, almost inaudible voice. Verona was really the only person Lincoln ever spoke to, and that was only on a rare occasion. As expected, this caused a lot of problems at home and at school. "Lincoln, I asked you a question." Jillian was now bent forward, waving her hand in front of her son's face, desperately trying to get his attention. Lincoln kept on eating his toast, and after a few seconds of silence, Jillian sighed and looked away.